Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stepping into the shoes of an elite economics professor to absolutely master a classic, advanced tutorial, the three faces of short-run equilibrium. If you're prepping for a major exam, listen up, because this is the ultimate six-mark question, and we're going to break it down so clearly, you'll literally be able to draw it in your sleep. We're looking at a perfectly competitive firm in the short run.
Today's syllabus is broken down into three clear visual chapters. We'll start with the profit maximization rules, move to Chapter 1, short-run losses, then Chapter 2, normal profits, and wrap up with Chapter 3, supernormal profits.
Section 1, the profit maximization rules. Okay, let's dive right into this foundational cheat sheet before we look at a single graph.
For a firm to maximize profit, or, hey, minimize its loss, it absolutely has to follow these mandatory conditions. First off, marginal revenue, MR, must equal marginal cost, MC. Second, that MC curve has to cut the MR curve from below. This is what sets our equilibrium point. Now for the survival rule. Price, or average revenue, must be greater than or equal to average variable cost. If price drops below that AVC, no way. The firm doesn't just lose money, it shuts down completely. Keep these rules handy because we're going to use them in every single scenario.
Section 2, Chapter 1, short-run losses. Let's see how this builds when our firm hits some rough waters.
All right, let's walk through this step by step. Follow that perfectly flat horizontal line right in the middle. That's our price, where P equals AR equals MR. Now find point E. That right there is our equilibrium point. See how the short-run marginal cost curve, or SMC, swoops up and cuts that horizontal line exactly from below? Boom, first rule's satisfied. But look closely at that U-shaped short-run average cost curve, the SAC. Notice how the entire bottom of that U shape sits completely above the price line. Basically, the cost of making the thing is physically higher than the price they're getting for it.
Let's break down the math story here. It makes it super clear. To find our total revenue, trace the corners with me, starting from the origin O, up to P, across to E, and straight down to Q. So our total revenue is that box, O, P, E, Q. But what about our total cost? Well, follow the line up from Q all the way until it hits that high ASC curve at point R, then across to S. Our total cost is that much larger box, O, S, R, Q. Since our costs are way bigger than our revenue, this struggling firm is facing a short-run loss, perfectly represented by that shaded rectangle at the top, P, S, R, E.
Now you might be wondering, why doesn't this firm just pack it up and shut down? I mean, they're bleeding money in that shaded rectangle. Well, think back to our survival rule. The price still exceeds the average variable cost curve, which is sitting safely below our price line. Because they're at least covering the day-to-day variable costs, materials, labor, and paying off just a tiny fraction of their fixed costs, it actually makes rational sense for the firm to survive by continuing production rather than closing its doors entirely.
Section 3, Chapter 2, Normal Profits. Now let's look at the second phase of equilibrium, where the firm is playing it perfectly safe.
Notice the beautiful change here. We've still got our flat price line and our marginal cost curve crossing right at E. But check out the SAC curve now. It's no longer hovering up above the price line. Instead, the very bottom of that U shape rests gently upon it, perfectly tangent exactly at our equilibrium point E.
Running the numbers on this safe state. Step 1, our total revenue is the area OPEQ. Step 2, our total cost is actually the exact same area, OPEQ, because the cost curve touches the price line right at point E. So, step 3, subtract the 2, and our net profit is literally 0. Now hold on, you might be thinking, why on earth would you run a business just to make 0 profit? Actually, scratch that, it's not truly 0 in the real world. In economics, that short-run average cost curve inherently includes a normal profit margin. It already accounts for the minimum amount the entrepreneur needs to keep the lights on and stay in business. So when a firm covers its exact short-run costs, when price equals SAC, the business is completely stable. They break even safely.
Section 4, Chapter 3, Supernormal Profits. Finally, let's examine what happens when the firm is absolutely booming and beating the market.
What's really fascinating here is how the whole dynamic completely flips from our very first chapter. We've got the exact same price line, the exact same marginal cost curve intersecting at E, but look at where the SAC curve is now. It has dropped completely underneath the horizontal price line at equilibrium. The cost of producing the goods is now way lower than the market price the firm is actually pulling in.
Let's track those rectangles one last time. Our total revenue is that massive area, OPEQ. But our total cost? We find that by going up from Q just until we hit that nice low SAC curve at point R, and then across to S. So our total cost is just the smaller rectangle OSRQ. This time, the total revenue completely towers over the total cost. The firm is being rewarded with pure supernormal profits, sometimes called abnormal profits, which you can see perfectly represented by that upper shaded rectangle, PSRE. Here, a price is strictly greater than SAC.
Okay, to absolutely guarantee high marks on this exam question, you always want to remind your grader that the fundamental laws literally never changed. Across all three states we just looked at, equilibrium was perfectly set where MC equals MR. The MC curve always cut MR from below, and whether the firm was, suffering losses, breaking even, or raking in those massive supernormal profits, the price always stayed above the average variable cost. No shutdown required.
But I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. We just spent all our time in the short run. Imagine being a business owner in Chapter 3, pulling in those huge supernormal profits. It feels amazing, right? But what happens in the long run? Because there's free entry into a perfectly competitive market, won't new competitors see those pure supernormal profits rush to enter the industry and drastically increase total supply? And as that industry supply curve shifts to the right, won't the market price eventually fall right back down, erasing those supernormal profits and forcing everyone back into Chapter 2's normal profits? It's a really fascinating cycle, and it just goes to show that in perfect competition, success is fleeting, and equilibrium is always pulling you right back to the center. Keep these three scenarios clear in your mind, and you will absolutely master any question on this topic.